Hey, this is Julia Rebecca Myron, aka The Messy Meditator, and this is the Messy Meditator podcast, where I'll be getting into the topics of mindfulness, messiness, and life. So let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about something that I think trips people up sometimes in mindfulness, and that's the practice of acceptance. Because I think when people hear that word, acceptance, sometimes it can be interpreted as accepting that something is okay. And in mindfulness, that is not how the word acceptance is used. In mindfulness, the word acceptance just means accepting that something is. Now, before I go any further, I want to just make a note that when we talk about accepting what is and accepting that something is, whether or not it's okay, the practice is a starting point in being able to sit with it, first of all. And before we can even determine if something is okay with us or not, we first have to be able to accept that it is, that whatever is happening is happening. And this doesn't mean that we can't do something about it, but it's, like I said, it's a starting point of accepting what is without necessarily doing something about it. And when we say we don't have to necessarily do anything about it, that is that practice of sitting with it. But it doesn't mean we can't do something about it. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do something about it. It's just that starting point of first we have to accept what is. We have to accept that what is happening is happening. So just as an example, if we are sitting in meditation and find part of our experience unpleasant, whether it's a physical sensation or a sound or something else, we start with accepting the reality that this is. The reality that this thing is happening, that this experience is being had. And as best we can, to accept it with neutrality or even kindness if possible. And then we start to determine and ask ourselves, can I sit with this? Can I sit with this a little bit longer, even if it's unpleasant? And then we have to trust ourselves to be able to know, yeah, I actually can sit with this. It's unpleasant, but I can sit with this. Or maybe I can sit with this, but I really don't want to, so I'm not going to. Or I don't think I can sit with this. It's too unpleasant. It's too overwhelming. All of those things are okay. That's because we're making that decision consciously and intentionally with awareness of what is, instead of just blindly following the impulse to do something or not do something. So one of the ways I like to think about this concept of acceptance, or if you don't like the word acceptance, you can also use the word acknowledge, acknowledging what is, and acknowledging whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, and acknowledging your choice in the matter, and acknowledging your ability to discern and decide. So one of the ways I like to think about this idea of acceptance or acknowledging what is in a more neutral way, taking the emotional charge out of it, is I like to think of it as checking a box, yes or no. Is this happening? Yes or no. Check the box. Because that way we can acknowledge what's happening, again, from this very neutral, objective perspective. And when we can acknowledge it from, is this thing happening? Yes or no. Check the box. Then we're taking the story and the narrative out of it, because it can be really easy to get sucked into the narrative of, this is what's happening and it sucks. I don't want it to be happening. I wish this other thing was happening. Why does this always happen to me? Or whatever the stories that we tell ourselves are. And sometimes just acknowledging what is can actually help make the unpleasant experience more tolerable. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times in my life where I have gone down a very distressing road in my mind for sometimes hours. Like, oh, I feel like shit today. Why do I feel this way? Why do I don't know, just whatever the narrative is. I'm tired, I'm grumpy, I don't want to feel this way. And then sometimes I'll just catch myself and think, oh, I'm just having a bad day. And simply acknowledging that sometimes, it's like, oh my God, it's such a sense of relief of like, oh, that's what's happening. I'm just having a bad day. Okay, well, tomorrow's a new day, and maybe even later on it won't be so bad. I don't know, but I'm just having a bad day. We all have bad days sometimes. And so just simply acknowledging and accepting that this is what is. Oh, I'm just having a bad day. It's like I can almost relax into it in a way instead of fighting it and being at war with it. And that's why acceptance is so important in this practice, because so often when we have an experience that's unpleasant, if we get sucked into the narrative of judgment, and that's a whole topic in mindfulness as well that I'll cover at some point, but when we get sucked into the whole narrative of judgment of this is bad, good or bad, but this is bad, and here's why. And we go through the whole narrative of whatever stories we tell ourselves and wanting to not feel how we're feeling and wanting to not have the experience that we're having. And so what happens is now we're not only having the feeling or experience that we're having, but now it's being compounded by all these other feelings of should, shouldn't. And so now we're at war with ourselves. And I've probably talked about this before. I'll talk about it again. A lot of these concepts will come up over and over and over again in different ways. But once we're at war with ourselves, then there's more tension now in our bodies, in our minds, in our hearts. And so when we can just accept what is, then it's like we're releasing the chokehold on ourselves of how it should be and just letting it be how it is. And then again, having that be the starting point of what comes next. Can I sit with it? Do I want to do something about this? Do I need to do something about this? Can I not do something about this? And it's surprising how accepting what is can really help facilitate a sense of calm and relaxation, because that internal tension of always being at war with ourselves and at war with our experience is fucking exhausting. And when you experience a little respite and relief from that, you really notice a difference. And that's sort of the cosmic joke of it all, is that the fastest way out is through. The relief that we're often looking for by trying to fight what is can often be found in accepting what is. And again, there's always a disclaimer to these things that if you're in a very traumatic situation or in an abusive situation, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about general life shit. And I like to make note of that just to acknowledge that I do understand that it's not so black and white. But I also like to trust that you guys know that too. So all of this can be really challenging when we first try to implement it into our lives. It can be challenging just experiencing it and practicing it in meditation. But when we start implementing these lessons into our lives, it can be really hard, and we're not going to always get it right away. Or even down the line, we might get it right 100 times and still get it wrong once. But that's why it's helpful to have support, to have a coach, to have a mentor who can hold your hand, help guide you through these challenges. So you're not just left flailing around wondering, is this how it's supposed to be? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? All common thoughts, especially in the beginning. So check in with yourselves right now. How is it for you right now? In your mind, in your heart, in your body, in your environment? What is? And then go from there.